Well, hey guys, today is Thursday, March 6th, and I am back home. We are home. It was just Chris, Wayne, and myself that was on this trip. Rob couldn't make it, and never heard anything from Chuck, so no idea what that was about. Um, well, um, it was a good trip. Had a couple little unforeseen issues, but nothing that was real big. Um, the first night, and I apologize for not doing this yesterday, but I figured I'd just do both nights at the same time here at the house. Um, but the first night was all right. Well, let me back up. Earlier in the day, the video that I posted of the pine trees that were uprooted out of the ground, those little pine trees. While we were walking up there, because I don't recall if I said anything about it in that video, but as we were walking up there, Chris and I both, could feel a difference in the energy up there. But I kept hearing a click off to my right, and there's a little knoll off to the right. And so I was telling, Chris asked, "Are you getting anything?" And I was like, "Yeah," and told him what I heard, and so I did a whistle. And about the time I was finishing whistle, I didn't hear the return, but Chris did. Um, he said it sounded like it came just over the other side of this little knoll, So we got a whistle response, and that was pretty cool. Then we found those trees that were uprooted. It's, um, and so that was about it for daytime. And so we went back to camp, and then we got ready for the night. And not a whole lot of activity as far as personal interactions, but there was a bunch of them there. One of the cooler night sightings I saw. We're under maybe a third of a moon, so it was kind of bright that first night, and there's good patches of snow. You saw the opening video when I was walking in. Um, we had just moved a tree out of the way, a little pine tree out of the way, so that we could get the camper all the way back in there, and so that's why I was walking. I only had to walk about 300 feet, but. Anyway, so there was patches of snow still around. It hadn't all melted, and so I could see the figures moving around. And at one point, the two of them went, but both at the same time, darted like that. And so I tracked one, kept my eye on one, and just watched him run just incredibly fast. Chris had seen it, and it may have to wait for a video for him, but he said it was kind of like this aurora borealis type thing, and Wayne and him walked over kind of in the direction where he was seeing it, and I walked up behind him and and I was like, "Chris, please tell me you saw that," because he was kind of looking in the right direction, and but he didn't see what I saw. What I saw was an individual lean out from behind a tree that was about 30 feet in front of him. He just wasn't looking at that spot. And so we're standing there, and it was getting pretty cool. But I mean, temperature wise, it's cold out. And so we decided to call it quits shortly after that, and. Really didn't have anything spectacular happen in the night, that I can speak of. And none of the guys said that they experienced anything. Next day, kind of the same thing. We went on a walk, wanted to show Wayne those trees that were uprooted. And we were all feeling the energy in that area. And, so we did some walking around. And at one point, Chris and I both I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and he saw it straight on. but he was trying to turn me to look where he was, and I said, I saw it, and it was a head popped up over some rocks and then popped back down. We both saw that, so we gave it a few minutes, then we kind of walked over that general vicinity and followed this ridge line and went back to camp. Last night activity, not super extravagant, but it was activity. I think the whole trip I only saw about 2 twinkle lights, but that's okay. I'm trying not to, I'm trying to get away from the, looking for the twinkle lights and getting back to, just the, the interactions with them. I've been too focused on one thing, for too long. But we could hear the footsteps, fairly close to us a couple of times. I saw movement a couple of times, but, like I said, it wasn't real spectacular. But, we're sitting around a fire. We had fire both nights because it's cold out. And, we just decided we're doing fires. Don't do it very often, but we did it. So went to bed. And shortly after I laid down, I was sleeping in Wayne's camper. I got the hell zapped out of me, and that was the first zap I've had on this trip, other than kind of, that was the first zap. I really didn't even have any tingles. But got zapped pretty good, and then I was out cold. And I woke up sometime in the middle of the night, stepped out of the camper to, enjoy the scenery. Had to relieve myself. And I caught something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked over, and I'm like, well, that's not where the fire is. It looked like this orange flame just kind of jumped up and went back down. Yeah, I just kind of stood there a little shocked because it looked exactly like, the fire flaring up. But from where I was standing, you can't see the fire pit because of a tree, pretty good sized pine tree. And, so I don't know what that was all about. Chris, he's got his rooftop camper, and he said several times during the night he could hear somebody walking around, somebody messing around with stuff on his table, which, is normal behavior. It's typical stuff. So it was a good trip. We just got to spend a lot more time out there. We got out there just in time. It was just starting to grapple on us a little bit. It's snowing now. It's going to be snowing, through probably early Saturday morning. I know here at my house, we're expecting 8 to 13 inches. And up where we were at, it's probably going to be closer to 2.5, 3 feet of snow. We need it. We've had no moisture. This is going to be the first measurable snow we've had all year long. So I'll actually get to use my snowblower this year. I put gas in it, so here we go. Now, a couple things I want to address. And the first thing I want to say is, please, nobody take anything I'm going to say personal. Agree, disagree. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me, but there's a few things that I need to address. Yeah, so I'm going to address one of them here. It's a video that I had posted from over at Coyote Camp last year, and had a squirrel in the tree. That I named John or something like that. Just a little tree squirrel. I get comments. On that one, I got a comment that maybe that was just the little ones coming to visit me and play with me. It was a squirrel. Okay, it was a squirrel tree. There's 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, however long, worth of squirrel debris at the base of the tree. It was a squirrel. It wasn't the forest people. Every time an animal comes by the camp, it's not the forest people making them do that. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the wild. There's wildlife out there. Wildlife does what wildlife does. Everything is not attributed to the forest people. Um, this is going to be a point of contention, but it is what it is. We don't all believe the same things with the forest people, and we don't know anything pragmatically, definitively. We have our theories, we have our ideas, but in the reality behind it, in my experience, and this is what I'm speaking on, my physical experience, 14,000-ish hours out in the field, boots on the ground, and at least half of that time, I'm completely alone out there by myself. So, I've experienced oodles. I've been given information by them, oodles of it. I've had the mind speak thing. One of the issues that I take with the mind speak is, unless I have the individuals around me, I see them, in the dark moving around. I physically know they are there. That's when I know 100% it's them mind speaking to me. Animals, do they take over animals? I have no idea if they take over animals or not. What I do have a strong suspicion of, because it happens over and over and over and over and over again, is that they are able to see through the eyes of the ravens. That's what the Apache Indians say, or at least the lore I've been told, is that the Apache Indians say that the raven is the eyes of the hairy man. I tend to believe that just because of some of the stuff that happens. When the ravens come flying by, and just acting a little different. And then that night get spectacular activity. So we've kind of come to the idea that, if the Apache Indian are right, and if they can see through the eyes of the raven, they use them like drones. And I'm pretty convinced of it, but I can't say that dogmatically. That it's just a suspicion. I have no empirical evidence of it, other than just some situations that's happened with the ravens and the forest people. I've never been in the camp that they shapeshift. I just don't believe it. There are things that have the ability to shapeshift, and the Navajo Nation, the Navajo, they talk about what can shapeshift, and it's not a good thing. We don't talk about it, so I'm going to leave it at that. But do the forest people shapeshift? I have never seen it. I have never experienced anything that would even lead me to come to that conclusion that they shapeshift. Because I see an animal walk by the camp. It's an animal walking by the camp. I don't think that for an instant that the forest people have anything to do with that. I've been in the outdoors, wilderness survival, my entire life. And I've had animals in my camp not every time I'm out, but it happens. You're in the wilderness. Animals get curious, and animals don't care. They'll walk by, go, somebody's here. Keep going. It doesn't have any, you can't always equate this stuff to the forest people. It just doesn't happen that way. Not by what I've experienced. But so I know a lot of people have got a lot of crazy ideas. I mean, hell, the stuff I talk about, it's like, what are you talking about? Do you know how crazy you sound? But what I talk about is what I experience physically. And if the mental stuff, on mind speak, correlates to what I'm physically experiencing, then it's like, well, maybe this could be. Bottom line is, I have no idea. They do what they do when they do it. I had somebody just recently, a contact that I've been in touch with. She asked me if, how far they can communicate with mind speak. I don't know. Can they communicate across the country? I highly doubt it. Nothing in my experience would lead me to believe that. I just have to, I get mind speak. 99.999% of the time, it's out there in the forest when they're standing around me. That's when I get the mind speak. Periodically, I might get a little something here at the house, but that's usually when I'm asleep. So I don't understand how that kind of communication, and if that's even what it is, it could just be I'm just having an off the wall dream. I don't know. What I do know is that, they know where I lived. They've been here. They know where I lived when I lived down in the Phoenix metropolitan area. Indy had been there twice, maybe 3 times. I've had somebody here 3, maybe 4 times, but it just doesn't happen all the time. I don't get... Oh, what am I trying to say? No, I'm just going to leave it at that. So I don't mind, when people put a comment on there, that maybe it's one of the little, a squirrel is maybe one of the little ones playing with me. Try to come to a little more understanding that, when you're in the wilderness things happen. That it's a beautiful thing when it does. And it's special when it does. And I love it when it does. But trust me, every time that I think I'm getting a communication or something, I'm going through the gauntlet to make damn sure that who I think I might be talking to is who I am talking to. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot more going on in the realms than just the forest people. There's a lot more out there. There's a lot of tricksters out there. That's why I do my diligence the best I can to make sure that, anything that I tell you guys, talk to you about, experiences I have, I need you to know that I am doing my due diligence with all of this. I'm not, getting in the hopeful, wishful thinking, frame of mind that, maybe that was them, or I hope that was them, because there's too much of that goes on. I have to be authentic. I have to be me, and I have to stay true to what is actually happening. Um, it's incredible enough what actually happens, and trying to understand it, trying to figure this stuff out. A lot of it is just so far above my mental pay grade, uh, that it's just mind boggling. It truly is. Um, I talked to you guys about some of my health issues that's going on. I'm feeling a lot better today. A lot better today. Um, did they have something to do with that last night because I slept so rock solid? I have no idea. Um, I'm not going to put my hopes towards it. The only place I put my hopes towards is my Lord and Savior Jesus. Um, he's my doctor. He's my healer. If they get permission from Him to heal me, then what a beautiful thing that is. It's um, I'm about 80% convinced that that's the way it goes, but I don't know for sure. So I have to stay dogmatic about everything I do. Um, there's ideas and thoughts that I get, and sometimes I spew them on here, and sometimes I don't. And if I'm wrong about something, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. Or if something happens that changes the narrative to what I think is happening, I'm going to tell you, hey guys, the narrative's changing, and I'm still kind of leaning towards the Esau connection with this, but I don't know. I don't know. The only thing they've told me is I'm close. So will I ever know? Probably not. Not in this lifetime. But I'm going to keep searching. I'm going to keep visiting them. Um, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, go out and do what I'm doing. I can't do that, because it might work for you, it might not. Um, let's face it. There's people on the internet that don't have the common sense that God gave a rabbit, and I'll be damned if I'm going to put out information that could cause somebody to go out into the wilderness to try and repeat what I do and get themselves in a bind or get themselves hurt. I'm not going to take that responsibility. This is my journey. This is my experience. And the outdoors is where I spend a lot of time. There's people that have no business being in the outdoors. So keep watching the videos. That's the safest thing. But I've been babbling on a lot. I know it's been a while since I've been on, and I may be a little hard to understand because I'm talking because I ain't got no teeth. But I'm working on getting myself healthy. I'm working on not just my physical health, but my mental health, because if your mental health is not straight, your physical health is not going to be straight. Um, and to work on my mental health, I got to work on my spiritual health. And so when you work on your spiritual health and your mental health increases and your physical health increases sometimes, that's what I'm focused on right now. And so we'll see how this season goes. But yes, I definitely plan on spending a lot of time out. The campsite's not that far from my house. It's like 25-minute drive, and so I'll be spending a lot of time there, and hopefully with this new family group that I'm starting these interactions with, and get to learn some more information. Different folks, different strokes. Oh, all right. Well, with that being said, I'm just rambling on. I just had to get a couple things off my chest. But as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to this goofy old man. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. I love each and every one of you. And when I say that, I mean it. I do. I love each and every one of you. Please, 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 please pay close attention to your surroundings. Be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Stay safe. And peace out.